Hi, I'm Tony Nichols, and welcome to Chamber Chat. Welcome to Chamber Chat, a program put together by the Salisbury Area Chamber of Commerce to keep you informed of what's going on in your community and in your chamber. Joining us today is newly elected Mayor, Mayor Jake Day. Welcome to Chamber Chat.
Thanks for having me, Tony.
I guess this is, I think you've been on Chamber Chat before, but this time in your official capacity as Mayor.
That's right.
So here's the $64,000 question.
All right.
What does it feel like when people say Mayor Jake Day?
Now, if I answer this correctly, do I get $64,000? Because you know the mayor makes about a third of that.
Yeah,
right?
It's the check's in the mail.
Right. Okay. I came in expecting to be called mayor from time to time, but I'm really kind of uncomfortable.
Right.
My name's Jake. But I also look at, I looked at every email or, communication that I got from Mayor Ireton and thought, just write Jim. You're Jim, right?
Right.
But I also understand that you own the office. You embody the office. You got to live to the office and make the decisions that come with the job. So I understand it. I'm just not 100% used to it.
Well, you'll get there.
Let me tell you this. At home, it's definitely Jake. or Daddy or, hey, you.
Right.
Get it done.
Right. That's right. I understand. So I've heard you speak several times now. I think many of us have heard you speak several times on different topics. I heard you speak at a meeting, last week, and you were talking about we need to figure out who we are. I mean, it really ties into branding. Can you speak to that a little more about why is it important for us to know who we are?
Sure. Well, I look at every business that's a member of the chamber, and every business in this community, and I guarantee you they have spent time figuring out how to communicate their competitive edge. Right. Who they are and how they differentiate themselves from the competition. Well, a community is no different from that because we are in a competition.
Sure.
And I'm a competitive guy. I like to win. I want my sports teams to win. I want Salisbury to win.
The Panthers are 8-0.
That's not my team. No, that is your team, right?
Yes, it is.
Yeah, that makes sense. But and it's not my Ravens year, but it will be once again. You just wait. The community that we have, that we love, Salisbury, Wicomico, Lower Shore, Eastern Shore, we know what it is. We know what's special about it. And I'll bet every single one of us would have a different way of articulating it. The challenge we have is figuring out a way, from a phrase to an image to colors to text, font,
right,
to identity, to figure out how to say simply to somebody who doesn't know our advantages, this is who we are. So we've got to figure that out. And Tony, I'll tell you, we've got 2 open contracts right now. One for signage on all our bike routes, and one for signage on Main Street. And both of these expert consulting firms basically looked at us and said, we could give you the package for downtown Chicago or the package for Flagstaff, Arizona, but the truth is neither one is you, and you could be anything in between. So pick, what's you. Figure that out first, and then come back to us.
So it was fairly easy for them to see that we know who we are, but we can't articulate who we are.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I think when they visit, when you visit this community, you see it and you feel it too. When you drive over the Bay Bridge and come onto the Eastern Shore, you see it.
You do.
Feel it. When you come into downtown, you can feel it. When you go to the zoo and the park, you feel it. I think when you look at the Wicomico River, you feel it. But we got to figure out, what does that look like in terms of an image before we invest money in signs and things like that?
That's true. Okay, brand will tie directly into tourism, marketing.
You got it.
So how do you see that impacting tourism and marketing versus where we are today and where we need to be?
Right now, the city of Salisbury doesn't spend $1 on marketing. And we got to fix that. And I realize that there was a time, and probably could be an argument made today that, oh, that's superfluous. That's unnecessary. Give me the basics. But the truth is, we are responsible for the economy. And look, the city doesn't create jobs, other than city employees, but the city doesn't create jobs. We create the environment for success,
That's right.
and that's what we've got to do. And one of the things we got to do is, on behalf of this community and the businesses in this community, celebrate it and say, hey, come here for this reason, for these people, for these jobs, for this community. And so we've got to make an investment there. Our county government does it and does a great job with it
Right.
through the tourism, Parks and Recreation
Right.
department, and we've got to be a complement, because we've got to say we're part of that economic engine.
Yeah, that funny you use the word compliment, because one should complement the other.
That's right.
One should be able to point to the other and say, yes, this is who we are, but have you seen this?
Yes.
Have you seen this other piece of the puzzle that we
got
have?
it.
And so that would play well once we figure out.
And there are other partners who we can do that with too.
Sure.
The university, the
yeah,
hospital,
absolutely.
Even neighboring communities.
Yeah. Well, when you the chamber's working and has developed a regional economic development team that could spread even further out as far as you want to go, really.
Sure.
But certainly on the shore.
Sure.
Entrepreneurs have been a hot topic
Yeah.
in the last couple of years. How do you envision entrepreneurs impacting Salisbury?
Well, they're the job creators. So if I said it's not,
I don't know if you meant to set up
No,
that next question with your previous answer, but you're right.
I didn't. But it's not. If it's not local government, then who is it? Well, it's entrepreneurs. And I love and spend time with, and obviously have a personal affinity for some of the large employers.
Yeah.
But our entrepreneurs, that's where the growth is really going to come from. So we've got this engine down, 1.4 miles south of downtown, very close to where we sit right now. That's Salisbury University, and they are pumping out every year. And I said 1,200 students at the chamber, and Mr. Sheehan kind of nodded, but he sent me an email correcting me. It's 1,200 that graduate in the spring, which is the main class. But winter, fall, summer total, it's 2,000 graduates a year coming out of Salisbury University. Well, we better capture more than we're capturing today. And I believe if we embrace them in this community, we are going to see the fruits of that. We're going to benefit. We're going to grow. So you see all the Gull Cage and the Bernstein competition, and you see the great competitions that we have going on out of that institution, and expand that to entrepreneurial centers like Hot Desks on the east side of the city, and like Launch SBY, a partnership of the county and the library in downtown Salisbury. Those are the sorts of things that I think are going to prove to be our really engines, really where the fire is burning hottest in Salisbury.
And we're going to get to a topic on youth in just a few minutes, but the chamber has, with Sophia Smecker and Kim Gillis's leadership, launched the Young Entrepreneurs Academy, which takes those youth that may wind up going somewhere else or may have an idea, really have no direction, and starts to funnel that energy to ultimately feed into a goal of Launch SBY or the Bernstein Challenge.
Start them young.
Awards. Yeah, right.
Start them young.
That's right. Exactly
Get them thinking about that now. Absolutely.
Well, look, let's take an opportunity now to take a look at the upcoming events with the Salisbury Area Chamber of Commerce.
Great.
Welcome back to Chamber Chat right here on PAC 14. We're talking with Mayor Jake Day. I want to turn the questioning a bit to, they're all serious topics, but a little more serious topic. In the recent past, there has been discussion of a curfew due to the perceived crime. And I think I even told you, Jake, that when my daughter and I were talking about crime in Salisbury, we were watching a program and they were talking about the crime in a city. It may have been Baltimore or wherever it was. And she, uncoached by me, said, well, I'm glad we don't have that in Salisbury. Because my daughter, Kayla, saying, I don't feel unsafe when I walk down Main Street.
Right.
But obviously there are people with a perception that that's not the case.
Right.
And so what are your ideas on a curfew?
Sure. Well, let me get to curfew in a second. Let me address safety first,
Okay.
More broadly.
Mm-hmm.
It is one of my core responsibilities to ensure that the people of Salisbury are safe. And let me say unequivocally that you are safe when you walk down Main Street.
I would agree with
It's
that.
one of the safest parts of the city, downtown. Now, we certainly have parts of the city that are less safe, that we need to invest more and are investing significant police resources. But it's also important that we invest them in the right way. So we're looking at getting more officers out on bikes and on their feet so that they can build relationships in the community and we can get the community engaged in policing. Community policing is a buzzword, I think, but it's got different meanings to different people.
Right.
To me, it means the community's doing as much of the policing
Right.
as the police are. And ultimately, that's what it takes. We have to raise up an army in this community of responsible men and women who are going to say, look, we are unwilling to accept that kind of behavior.
Right.
Selling drugs on our streets. We are just unwilling to accept it, and we're going to stand up to it. And I think we've got those people. We just need to let them know that we're behind them 100%.
Yeah, I think that also, we certainly have to have it in the community, but we have to have it in the home. We have to have that,
Oh my goodness,
that,
yes.
that undeniable, we will not accept this, whatever this is, in this house.
Yes.
And then it never gets to the street. Or if
Yes.
it does, the repercussions at home, when I grew up, the repercussions at home were a lot worse than they were in the street.
Absolutely.
So I think, to have that attitude as a city
Yes.
starts at home.
Parents are the first police.
Yeah, right.
You're absolutely right. Parents have to be the leading edge, and we've got to help them. We've got to back them up. And those who have struggled, we need to give them the resources. And frankly, they exist through certain institutions in this community. There are resources there. I think we just need to expand those resources, and we need to support them and give them places where they can thrive. So the curfew in particular, and the perception of youth crime. There is a perception that crime is high. It is higher than I want it to be. Any crime is a crime too many, in my opinion, and so let's continue to work hard to reduce it. But crime has been reduced. Crime has been on the decline. It really coincided, if you look back, with the arrival of Chief Duncan. She has been successful at decreasing crime. It's not decreasing fast enough for my liking, but I want to keep it headed in the right direction. As our state's attorney, Matt Massarello, said to me the other day, we dropped from number 4 on that list to number 54. Let's drop off the list.
Right.
I love that. I love that concept. And look, those lists, according to the FBI, they say they're meaningless. Don't pay any attention to them. It doesn't give you any. It doesn't give you any real sense of what your life is going to be like in one community versus another. Number 53, you may actually be far more prone to violence
Right.
than in number 54. So don't use those metrics. However, people look at them. So let's get off the list.
Right.
With regard to juveniles, we do have a real problem as well, I believe, with juvenile crime and with juvenile victimization. And yes, that starts in the home. And after that, I think we have to say, what are we going to do to address the issues after school? What are we going to do to address the issues at night? From 7 a.m. to 7 p.m., a lot of parents in this community, especially a lot of single mothers in this community, are working. They are nursing. We have a lot of single mothers that are in the nursing fields, and so for 12 hours a day, they're busy. So from 2:45 to 7 p.m. in the afternoon, kids don't have as much supervision as they do in the other hours of the day.
I know what I did.
I know what I did too. I'm with you. So, and I probably would have found myself in trouble had I not, known the repercussions at home. So during those hours, we have to be, I think, very, very vigilant. And the way I want to be vigilant is not to lead by saying, curfew. And what we heard when we took that idea out to the community was, well, curfew plus some other things, wrap that in some other ideas. Well, I'd flip that on its head and say, well, the plus has to come first. We have to say to these young people, well, what do we want you to do? And what do we want you to feel? And how do we want you to live in this community? And then, if we offer you after-school opportunities, programming at community centers, and athletic programs that are free or very, very low cost, mentors in your schools, mentors after school, homework aid at the library, homework aid at our community centers, and if after all that you're still out in the middle of the night causing trouble, well, guess what? We're picking you up and we're taking you home.
Right.
And that's not a crime. It's not a crime, but it'll be a civil infraction. It'll allow us to pick somebody up, take them to home, to a responsible adult, and if there is no adult at home, then take them to that community center where there's going to be juvenile supervision in the night hours. And look, that plan is not finalized. In fact, I pulled it off the city council agenda because I didn't think there was a solid plan, and we need to build that plan and then come back to the city council in the spring with a very solid plan of how we intend to move forward.
Along those safety conversations,
yes,
the backing up to the branding and the marketing, the metric that is used to rank cities or counties is a bit flawed in our case, given our geography. So, do we have a bead on if we can approach those people, if we can solicit someone to come here and take a look at the lay of the land to change those metrics, because the rankings, good or bad, play into the branding and ultimate marketing of the community.
Yes. Yeah, they do. And anything you can find online does.
Yeah.
So, whether it's something someone writes on a blog or on Facebook, or, something someone writes, which there's no authority to that. But if somebody writes it and it's online, it has an impact.
Sure.
It doesn't make it true, doesn't make it so, but it has an impact. So we have to, I think we have to recognize that, and we have to build up our own brand. And I think we can help it by, achieving better results in rankings and things. When I was about 8 years old, I got this big old fat white book, and I've still got it. And it was the Places Rated Almanac. And I looked through it constantly, and it had every metric.
Stop. At 8 years old, you got a Places Rated
Almanac,
and that charged you up.
Oh yeah.
8 years old.
Oh yeah.
That's I don't know why that should be shocking, but
my parents called me Map Man as a kid, because I would sit there in front of the TV, like I would lay on the floor in front of the TV, and I wouldn't half the time pay attention to cartoons or whatever, and I'd have an atlas, and I would just flip, and look at the cities, look at the interstate highway systems, look at the geography. I loved that stuff.
I'm going to use a professional term right here. Dude, if you've ever heard of the terminology "born for such a time as this," it sounds like you were born for such a time as this.
Well, thank you.
It's to have someone that's been passionate, not just because of what you see, but almost born passionate over the things that you're passionate over. That's a special quality that most people don't have. I don't care what you're doing.
Well, I appreciate that, and I think I was born for not only this time and this job, and to help Salisbury, but I was also nurtured into it by my parents, and I've realized over the last months, the impact that they had, but also the adults in this community, not even my parents, just teachers and mentors, mentors even in the business community, who really embraced me as a kid and just said, you can be anything you want to be. And if you love this place and you want to help it, fine, you can come back and do that.
All right, very good. We're talking with Jake Day right here on Pack 14. We'd like to give you another opportunity to take a look at the upcoming events with the Salisbury Area Chamber of Commerce. Welcome back to Chamber Chat right here on Pack 14. Continuing our conversation with Mayor Jake Day, I want to talk about a subject that maybe was a little contentious as you read it, certainly in the paper. Maybe that was true, or maybe it was not. I don't know all the comings and goings of that. But the fire services agreement, that whole tax differential, more people live here versus there, we're paying more, we're not getting the equality in the service proportion the way it should.
Sure.
Tell us about that stuff, man. What are your views there? How do you think that's going to play out?
Well, the root of what you're talking about is the relationship with the county, and I think you've got to kind of take a global perspective, and then I'll get back to our local issues. Yeah. And global perspective is if you want people to invest in your community, then inner turmoil can't be one of the themes.
Right.
It just can't be. It was a barrier to progress before. It was a barrier to investment. People in the business world don't invest. Certainly in the financial world, don't invest in conflict and
right.
in an opportunity or in an environment of uncertainty. Right. You need to know just, hey, we're heading that way. The numbers are rising. We're going to get on board. Right. So that's what we want to create in this community. And I think we've got to work well with the county. We've got a responsibility to work well with the county in order to get that. I also think if you look at the communities that are really successful right now, you talk to the folks, in Asheville or Ithaca, these places that are just thriving and economically booming and are doing a lot of the things that we're trying to do too, and are just a few years ahead of us or decades ahead of us in some cases. But you talk to them, you sit down with them, and if you ask them about what's going on, they don't have that same glowing opinion of themselves. They see the day to day. So if you ask them in Asheville, what are the issues? It's like, well, we just can't get along with Buncombe County. If you ask them in Ithaca, it's we just can't get along with Tompkins County. They're dealing with the same thing. So let's recognize that those are challenges. But right now in this moment, I think we're in a place where we are able to get along. I have great conversations with county leadership, with County Council President John Cannon, each of the county council members, County Executive Bob Culver. I've got a good relationship with them, I believe, and I think they'd say the same about the relationship that we have. So what are we going to do with that? Well, one, we're going to focus on branding, marketing, tourism, those things that grow our economy. We're also going to focus on addressing those bigger, deeper issues that maybe we don't want to talk about or don't want to deal with. But that's where leadership comes in. And I've got to applaud, let's take fire service for 1 second. I've got to applaud County Executive Bob Culver for his response on January 2nd, the day Mayor Ireton held his press conference and said, look, we're going to address this issue and we're going to address it now. The moment County Executive Culver took the podium, and it wasn't even planned, and when he took the podium, what did he say? He said, you're right, we got to fix it. He probably don't want to, and I'm putting words in his mouth, but he probably doesn't want to pull millions of dollars out of his budget and give it to somebody else. I don't want to do that. Nobody wants to do that. But is it the right thing to do? In this case, yeah, we got to find some sort of solution. And I don't love the idea of county or governments paying each other. I don't like that at all. So maybe there's another way of fixing that ultimately. But if we keep things exactly as they are, we have to. Because here's the situation. We've got a corporation of people, a corporation of Wicomico County citizens and taxpayers who have come together over centuries and said, we together as this corporation of the people of Salisbury, we'll call ourselves, we are going to provide services for ourselves through additional tax dollars. That's what we're going to do. That's what a municipality is. And as a result of that, it's going to create economic development, which 91% of the jobs in the county are in the city of Salisbury, 93% of the sales and revenue in the city of Salisbury that are in Wicomico County. So it's an economic development tool, the city is. But right now that corporation sends services out into the county without being compensated for it. And I'm not talking about water and sewer, those are compensated. But it provides fire service without any compensation. So some county taxpayers are paying for a service and other county taxpayers are receiving the same service and not paying for it. And now what I'm not okay with is just cutting them off. And that's where we got into controversy before. So we've got to find some equity, we've got to fix it. And on December 7th at the City Council work session, we're going to bring, the county and the city leadership are going to bring a consultant that we want to hire to help give us a final kind of number of what that difference is to the council, the city council, to consider funding 50-50 with the county, funding that research and ultimately getting us an answer and developing a plan.
Well, sounds like the approach is certainly one that the end result is designed to and hope to be amicable and things be done in a much more respectful way.
Tony,
that's the right word.
I won't do it any other way. And here's why. We owe it to the people to do it that way. And also I owe it to the 8 elected officials in the county, the 7 county council members and the county executives. County executive. I owe it to them to say, I recognize your challenges. County budget's tight. I can't just say gimme, gimme, gimme. Even if it's right and fair, let's just develop a plan that's easier for you to swallow than just saying, I want money.
Right. Well, look, we're running out of time, but
Okay.
I want to squeeze one more topic in here.
Okay.
And remember, I said we're running out of time. Give us your thoughts on downtown.
Okay.
I know you have a
be
little bit of passion behind
Little
downtown.
A little bit. So if I could put it into one, bite-sized phrase, it's a city without a thriving heart and soul is a city that's dying. So we got to have it. We're going to do it. And I'm committed to it. And we've seen more real estate activity in the last 2.5 years than in the 20 years before that. More sales and leases in that time than before that. So there's a lot of things churning. We finally, for the first time, since it was planned to happen in 1965, for the first time, we have surface parking lots in the hands of developers.
That came up in a meeting I was in yesterday.
And let me tell you, they are going gangbusters. They gave us the timeline that we agreed to that feels long. I mean, it's longer than my first term as mayor. It's 5 years before a shovel has to be in the ground. And so you could say, wow, that's forever. But it doesn't benefit them to use every single day in that 5-year timeline. It benefits them to get those things in motion now and to start making money. I mean, that's the incentive. So yeah, we have a deadline, but they're already working. Let me tell you, they are working hard. They're already meeting. They're already making things happen. They're meeting with companies. They're meeting with developers. They're meeting with other partner developers. They're meeting with other institutions in town. Mm-hmm. It's great to see that happening. But I've said this before. You got to operate on 3 levels simultaneously when it comes to downtown revitalization. You got to operate on that strategic level. You got to be making the big things happen constantly. You also got to be working on those medium-sized things. Meaning getting businesses. And so the Feldman's redevelopment, seeing that happen, getting Edit Salon. I wasn't sure how I felt, honestly, about a salon going in that space because I liked a restaurant being there. But I looked in there this morning. It's gorgeous. It's beautiful. They have done a beautiful renovation. It's already bustling, so I'm happy for that business. I'm proud of them. Robinson's just moved downtown. If you've ever been in their parking lot, if you've ever bought T-shirts for a soccer team or something, it's a bustling business. So that's a good thing. And then you also got to be operating on that very short term, that tactical scale. And what that means and what that looks like to me is the things that we've really had success in so far, which is getting people out into the street, events, getting people excited, creating that space, and then marketing it, branding it.
Yeah. Well, I told you we were out of time. I wish we had more time.
Me too. Let's do it again.
And I'll say this: Salisbury was certainly not broken. And I'm going to say something that you're probably tired of hearing, but we're looking for a new day, and you can call that a euphemism or whatever you want to call it.
But it's true.
But it's true. It's true.
Thank you, Tony.
Thank you for joining us on Chamber Chat.
Tony, thank you so much.
All right. We'd like to thank you also for joining us on Chamber Chat. And as always, if you missed part of this edition or you'd like to view previous editions of Chamber Chat, we'd encourage you to visit PAC 14's website or visit the Salisbury Area Chamber of Commerce's YouTube channel. That's all the time we have for this edition of Chamber Chat. My name's Tony Nichols, your host, encouraging you to make a difference.